Well, hello there, everybody. It says we're live, so I'm taking it that we're live. Apparently, Queen Elizabeth is no longer among the living dead, us. But, 96 years old. So we wish her great adventures on that next one. So, yeah, the old guard passing away quickly. And we're going to be talking about what is already here, the new guard. But maybe it's like the Who. Maybe the old boss is the same boss. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for being a part of this journey. Love all of y'all. Thank you for being a part of an adventure of a lifetime and speaking favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Be of services to others, and happy birthday and anniversary if you got one. Mine will be tomorrow, but I won't be here. In fact, this will be the last show until I am relocated. So that will be on Monday the 19th. So party on. That's all I got to say. And you're a beautiful group, and much love to all of you. Truth Seeker, how you doing? Good to see you. I think there's two Truth Seekers. And Robert V, hello. Mary Wins, good to see you, my dear. Off D, good to see you. And boy, the thing, Dirty Filthy Money, I love it. Faith, good to see you. And Scott Shuts Hats, what's up? Jackie, man, Joyce Marie, good to see you as well. Loft in Space, Go, what's happening? Sante, good to see you. Namaste to you as well. Susie Q, good to see you. So Odin, how are you, my friend? Want to give a shout out to Miss Heidi over there. Over there. Norway, I believe. Am I right on that, Heidi? I know you can't actually be in the midst of the chat, but we send our love to you. We send, and folks, seriously on this one as well, just surround David Perry with your best energy of protection. Tuesday, I saw the post from Natasha, the birthday gift girl. Much love to you, darling. There were a lot of us who were attacked on Tuesday. I thought this may have been just me, but it's turning out seems to have been almost global. Something was happening. And David Perry, who is Big Al's driving partner, I mean, the dude was attacked. And you should see the pictures. They're horrendous. Physically attacked by an unseen entity. He said he had to almost like fight for his life. So, yeah, something's up, folks, big time. And when you start seeing unseen forces physically attack humans, leaving cuts, burns, bruises, yeah, something's up. So anyway, lots going on. A whole lot going on. And it's significant today. I mean, the passing of Queen Elizabeth is a big deal. You think that woman has been around nearly 100 years. Saw World War I, World War II. I mean, it's interesting. So much speculated about her, but her life was one of, how should we say, adventure. I wonder well, I know that answer before I even speak it. She took all of her secrets with her. I mean, that's how it is. But yeah, so our world is changing and changing quick. Chloe, good to see you. Regina, hello. Good to see you as well. Mrs. B, what's up? AK Morning Star, how are you? If I've missed you, it's only because I didn't see you. So there you go. Listen, I want to get right into this because the title of this show is one that it freaks people out. But we cannot be so naive to think that there are spiritual beings that rule every aspect of our existence. And we're going to be talking about Moloch. And here's a hardcore reality. I'll debate anyone on this. The evidence is overwhelming. The United States of America is not a Christian nation. It's not a Muslim nation. It's not a Hindu nation. This nation worships the ancient deity, Mesopotamian deity, Moloch. Let me pull something up. So give me 1 second here as he switches screens. So how many of you are aware of this? This took place last Thursday evening. Even the White House is calling this the Moloch speech. This was done purposely. This is the spell that I was talking about earlier this week. The setting was purposely lit. There wasn't anything in this that was not detailed in its planning. Its message was very clear. And as some have almost, and I'll say it out here, there seems that there was a channeling of the dictator of the last century. Same pose. In fact, you can go back in the Internet archives and look at what that speech was at the Rights Guard. I believe, what was that? Was that 1931 or thereabouts? May have been a little bit earlier. So anyway, Moloch. Why would a world leader invoke the name of Moloch to begin with? Now, regardless of whether your political views and stances, it doesn't really matter. If you have a designated head of a nation, a country, a people, that person is the proxy voice for that nation. And when the United States begins to invoke the deity, the demigod, the master demon, whatever you want to call it, by name, we're in deep shit. I'm just telling you right now. So let me get rid of this. And as I get back over here, like, gee, here I am. There I am again. Looking good, Steiger. I'm with a great group of people. They're all looking good. Hey, Isby, what's up? Good to see you. I haven't seen you a while. Dream Escapes. Yeah, it was designed that way, Dream Escapes. Yeah. So, yes, Paul Joe, Moloch is all about fact. This is going to get deep, folks, because all I got to say is strap in, because we're about to get as real as it gets. So put together this. The aliens, the gods, God, whatever you want to call it, your savior, doesn't matter. They never left. They're still here. And more powerful than ever. And when you see how powerful this really is, what the internet really is, we all as humans got need for a real big concern. If you use the internet, and I don't care what you think about this, you are paying homage to the Master Demon Moloch. Do you really think the single largest repository of human psychic energy would go unused? Really? Do you really think humans invented the internet? And let's be, if you start with the ARPANET, who then went into the Ethernet, that then evolved into the internet, and now is evolving into the neuronet. You think humans really invented that? I mean, if you stop and examine that point alone, it gets really creepy really quick. We've been manipulated. We invented the thing that's going to be our demise. Well, let me retract that. We did not invent it. It was given to us. Well, given is kind of a context of, possibly good. Well, no, there was nefarious purposes here. Because if you think about the internet, it is the sum total of humanity. Now, some will argue, well, no, it doesn't have the soul. It doesn't have. Yes, it does. It's everything we are. It's now outgrown us. But it was never designed for us to begin with. Again, I state this. The internet is the most powerful collector of all humans' psychic energy. There's never been a time, at least in the written record, when humanity, we spoke about this yesterday, is actually unified. But unified in what? You see, when you've got literally 99% of the world's population hooked into the internet, this is just not, well, yes, it is. It's one of the most powerful mediums ever conceived. And we would be foolish to think, whether you want to call whatever religion, they're all psychic vampires. They require us. They require our devotion. They require our faith. They require our concentration. They require our servitude. They require our sacrifice. The internet has outgrown humanity and has been controlled from the very beginning, but now more so than ever. That psychic banquet I was talking about yesterday, this is the cook. So, as I've said, never before has so many humans been connected to a single medium. You see, I always get these emails of Christians and others that, accuse me of heresy and, call me a Satanist and a Luciferian, and I just laugh. Because what they don't understand, they're in the trap as well. This is a medium. What do mediums do? They channel, they connect. So we're talking about Moloch. Well, I'm sure many of you know who Moloch is. If you don't, this is a strange deity connected to Baal. Baal is Yahweh's brother. As the Ashtaroth was his wife, we don't know if Yahweh murdered her or whether he exiled her. It is said in certain lore that Baal, when Yahweh murdered or got rid of his wife, the Ashtaroth, it infuriated Baal, Moloch, and they declared war against Yahweh and all of Yahweh's followers. But they're all of the same clan. And this deity, I knew about this deity 40 years ago in my Bible studies. You read in the book of Leviticus, you'll find out about Moloch. And the thing is, this is human beings. This is the high priest. If you look at the high priest in this painting, he has a different type of face. But what's taking place here? Well, this is the G-rated picture. And what you have is this statue that had a furnace underneath it where its throne, where it was seated. And it was made out of bronze. And when they got this thing fired up, It glowed. And these are the children of Israel. This is the Levi priesthood. This is the psalmist with the trumpets. And as you can see, the high priest offering forth the human sacrifice. Now, the interesting thing about Moloch, Moloch has an appetite for unborn children. Abortion, you can say it. And in this time and in the era of Canaan, Judea, they were in some deep shit, man. I don't know what the fuck they were taking, but their heads were so far up their anuses, because if humans are doing this, and if humans have done this before, humans are doing it today. We just sanitized it, that's all. But anyway, as the book of Leviticus tells the story, Moloch required either the removal from the womb of the unborn fetus or newborn. And they would then, with the outstretched hands, of course, it's glowing, yellow hot. You can imagine what happens next. It's not something that, people want to admit. But this took place. This deity is still present today, ever present. It's grown stronger because remember, back then, you may have had a nation of maybe 500,000, maybe 1 million. But compare that to billions. This is what you can see in the museum. I believe this one was in, I think, the British Museum. This is the modern interpretation of Moloch. There's so much into this that, wow, it's amazing. Because this is what's happened. These aliens, they're long-lived. Their lifespans, in some cases, are said to be eternal, immortal, only meaning that they have very long lifespans. Some say maybe millions of years. Gives you a certain tactical advantage if you don't die for millions of years. Imagine the knowledge you would amass. Yeah. And again, it determines what you believe, but you can't deny the deity Moloch exists. And it's interesting about this creature. It's pissed off the people like me because I'm pointing it out. And as you're listening to my voice and seeing the image that I'm showing you, guess what? Now you know. And it knows that you know. It doesn't like that. It would rather have the American society, well, let's just say the population at all, to be completely ignorant of its existence, of its power, of its influence. It'll allow you to have all your religions because it most likely is the one who invented them. Much, much more going on here. We find Moloch even with Solomon. And if you look at the Solomon keys, we know that Solomon controlled the demons. I wonder if it was Yahweh or was it Moloch Baal who gave Solomon that knowledge. This gets deep. It's been ingrained into our existence. The bull, Taurus. I can just go on and how it is reflective and alive today. And the United States of America is controlled by this creature. Boy, and I just got a psychic flash, boy. Those are very strong words. They're repugnant to a vast majority of certain beliefs of people because they're under the illusion that it is their God that is in control. But you see, this is an interesting thing. When I meditate, I realize that I cannot see beings, whether they be of spirit, of thought. It's called the unseen. That's the great mysteries of the Abrahamic religion, is that, well, that's the whole thing about this God dude, this Elohim, this Yahweh, is that he hides himself behind a cloud. But it's interesting about these deities. I mean, we create all the gods, but this God particularly has a certain form it once emulated. It's alive. It's everywhere. But again, we have been designed to not see. We have been designed to psychically bow down. And when you're targeted by psychic energies, you know how precarious that can become. This happened. This is real. Egypt, Rome, Greece, Solomon. Yeah. You see, there was at one time, from what I have been able to study and ascertain and read, there was a time when these deities, in fact, took on physical manifestated forms. I think they still do. But we have been so anesthetized mentally, psychically. And it's when you come out of this anesthesia and you begin to look around, it gets really freaky quick. This goes all the way back, folks, to ancient Mesopotamia. Enki, Enlil, Moloch. Could be said that possibly Moloch is, in fact, Enlil. I don't know. But we do know that this existed. And today, and isn't it interesting that he's chained? Weird stuff. And it never stops. So, get out of here as he gets out of there. It's heavy stuff. I know. Enoch is Enki. Well, I don't know that, Norseman. I mean, one of the things I have come to the point in my life, I don't know anything. I read a lot, but everything I read is the result of someone else's thoughts, which makes it me the receiver and the receptor of their thoughts. And then when you start saying it's absolute, there's no evidence for that. Janie, yep, I mentioned that earlier today. Yeah. Marduk, Russell just says it's, I don't think that these deities with all these different names are different gods. I think they're all the same. They're playing with us. We're nothing more than cattle, sheep. I have said this, ladies and gentlemen, many, many times. If we were this advanced species, We should have been right today. We should have lifespans over 1,000 years. Our IQ should be at least 10,000, but we're not. We've changed very little in over 12,000 years. We've grown hardly at all. Our intelligence still mocks us. But we claim that we have all this spiritual insight, and hey, man, we really know because we're like really enlightened. Well, we may be by our own light, but it's very apparent that what has ruled us mocks us. As I said, we have come together. We are in unity, but it's not the unity that is the one that benefits our species. I'm reading some of this. Mark, I'll tell you, sometimes I feel that way myself. And listen, if you're telling me that the God of all creation is Jewish and somehow another made a conversion to Christianity and then somehow made another a conversion to all the others, seriously? I had this discussion in depth with an individual, and I said, the God of the Bible is nothing more than a psycho-human. It's a human personality that what would be declared by any psychiatrist as a psychopath. It gets angry, it's jealous, it murders what it creates, and yet humans worship it, make sacrifice to it. I mean, when are we going to grow up? When are we going to start putting on the big boy britches and the big gal britches? Because we're being used. We're being manipulated. And it is so insidious. I have a paper here I want to show you that we're going to get into. When I read this, I went, holy crap. Calaria, I believe that is Fuskuskov, Skovova, excuse me. And in her paper, she wrote, there's a demon in the internet, haunted media, globalization, and televised televisual horror. You see, they started with us. This has been ongoing. So I want to read the abstract here, folks. It says this paper, and it's a short paper, only 16 pages. This paper is focused on the portrayal of media, more precisely television, and the new media, the internet, in television horror shows in the context of globalization and the implications of this portrayal. The media and their technologies have always been demonized in one way or another. Every new invention, every new means of communication is viewed with a mix of awe and suspicion. New technology and new media become objects of phobias. Once a new medium is introduced, now isn't it interesting? A new medium. When you hear the word medium in here, translate in your mind. That's psychic, supernatural. We don't look at technology like do that, but it's our captor. It usually takes the position of a phobic object, relieving the old ones from this burden. However, a certain level of anxiety remains with the old medium. No genre shows this quite as well as horror. In the horror genre, the media and their physical forms are often shown either as a threat itself or a bringer thereof. The internet and the social media are just as monstrous. But how are these monsters, material or not, portrayed in the media itself? So she goes on to say that she's going to analyze this. So, folks, this gets really interesting. The titular quote comes from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, episode 1, Robot, Eugene. In this episode, one of the main characters, Willow, Allison Hangen, accidentally puts a demon on the internet while scanning a book in which it is trapped. The demon uses the web and its chat rooms to find followers that it manipulates. Even Willow is contacted by it and for a while believes she has found a boyfriend. But her friends Buffy and Xander warn her that she should not trust a stranger she met online. Although the demon does not turn out to be an axe-wielding circus freak with murderous intentions, as first assumed, they are ultimately right to consider him a threat. It is the demon Moloch himself. The episode stands as a metaphor in true Buffy fashion for the dangers of meeting people online. We don't know them. We meet here every day, but none of us have actually met. I've met a few. Curiously, the internet is not the only way for a demon to gather followers, but also provides the means for its demise. In the episode, final techno-pagan computer teacher Mrs. Calendar and other techno-pagans across the globe unite to exorcise him from the internet using the internet. So the web not only represents danger, but also offers a solution to deal with its own threats. I see very little programs out there that deal with the internet and the spiritual entities that inhabit it. And that's what these social media platforms are. I've done so many shows in the 8 years I've been on this channel and shown you there's doppelgangers of us. They have replicated us. There's a whole reality where I come on here every day and you are participating, but they've outgrown us. Goes on to say, but the internet and computers are not the first media or technologies to be vilified. Technology and supernatural have always been linked. Photography has been used to capture invisible and paranormal forces. I just got my camera yesterday, custom made, full spectrum. It's not even out of the box. It's now boxed in a box. But yeah, we'll get into that when I get relocated. I believe that we are making such advances on the front of the paranormal. As I have said earlier, I believe that there are a couple of individuals out there that are close to actually capturing the human soul, or what we would call spirit. Mossy 51, appreciate that, Mossy man. Great conversation about the Orca well. If y'all missed the one, check it out yesterday. Yeah. To think that Hugo actually committed suicide is implying that Hugo has a soul, that Hugo was aware of his existence and was aware that death brought release. Deep. The telegraph, in its power to send quick messages across long distances, seemed impossible and miraculous. And for the people of the 19th century was comparable to a seance. New technologies are always viewed with suspicion and thus related to the supernatural. As Stacey Abott and Lauren Jowett pointed out, they are inherently uncanny because they challenge our established understanding of the natural world. It's not just technologies that are uncanny. It applies to the media too. Consider the radio as a box containing or producing mysterious voices that belong to no one present in the room. That's channeling. But no, you say, well, no, Wayne, it takes, a broadcast of the signal, you convert it into, radio waves. And yeah, right. Isn't it still energy? Or take the image of distance things projected on an otherwise plain screen in a cinema. One only has to remember the anecdote about people running away from the incoming train during the screening of the first films to fully appreciate the frightening nature of the new media. The new and unknown is always scary. And by the way, that's more urban legend than actual fact. Nevertheless, once they become autonomized, in the terminological of Victor Solinsky, the unfamiliar becomes familiar, yet it can become unfamiliar, de-automized, once again when conventions are further broken. A famous and rather infamous example of this would be the broadcast adaptation of the science fiction novel War of the Worlds. Folks, people were really, they thought that, in fact, people were reporting seeing Martians. I mean, you know, it's amazing, and it showed something. But we've lost that. Why? We become indoctrinated into this technology. We're all still asleep. Some of us are stirring, but for the vast majority, all humans, we're still asleep. We like to be anesthetized. We like to be tickled, entertained. Anything but boredom, anything but having to really think. Yeah. In horror studies, this de-automization is called the uncanny. It derives from the writings of Sigmund Freud, who used the term to describe objects that seem familiar but unfamiliar at the same time. Automatons, dolls, wax figures. For Freud, the uncanny represents the return of the repressed because we are reminded of something from our past that we pushed away in our mind. The uncanny is used in horror studies to describe a feeling of dread created by something that is supposed to be familiar, but it's not. An animated corpse, doppelgangers, shapeshifters, possessed people, etc. Haunted media works in the same way. 24-hour news is nothing more than a horror story. It's derived and built upon fear, anxiety, depression. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, all of them are nothing more than objects of the occult. Their news is designed for one thing and one thing only, to hypnotize you, to convert you, to make you afraid. But we call it normalcy. It's just weighing the spreading of information. And well, isn't it odd that today we're in a time where information is now divided into misinformation, disinformation? I mean, we can go right on through it. So what is information? A radio or television set is something that has a steady place in our home. Why is it? Why is it that you can go in the middle of the African rainforest or in the deepest jungles of Africa and you can find televisions? You got to tell the vision. And they're in every American home. Most American homes have 3. It's a source of information. We offer, you presume, reliable and entertainment. You see, we thrive on fear. Why? Fear is entertaining. It dumps endorphins. It causes that anxiety feeling in which some people feed off of that. Certain creatures do for sure. So when these objects in the media they employ start behaving as if they have taken on a life of their own or seem to be a mediator of some malevolent force, they quickly become strange and frightening. They are bringing the spectral world into our daily lives. Did you get that? See, we haven't realized we've already merged. We are more dominated by the spectral reality than what our physical reality actually is. With that in mind, it is not only the technology that becomes unfamiliar, it is our own homes along with it. She writes in this paper, I will focus on the representation of television and the new media as monstrous on television itself. This representation is viewed in the context of globalization, which is an important notion of television. It is, as Jerome Burton put it, a global medium par excellence. Wow. As television may be divided into linear and nonlinear, it becomes tightly linked to the internet. She says, I will focus on the monstrous media that also shifts from linear to nonlinear. In this sense, haunted media can exemplify a traveling concept as described by Michael Ball. According to her, the concepts are not fixed, but rather flexible. The concepts, as they change when they move across academic fields, geopolitical, geophysical locations, geographical locations, historical periods, or as they are treated differently by different scholars. The concept of haunted media also travels, it evolves and changes with every invention. In different times and places, haunted media is not timeless expressions of some underlying superstition, but rather a permeable language that expresses the society's changing attitude to the given technology. In that way, it is accurate to call haunted media a traveling concept because it is always on the move. Wow. I mean, this is deep. I was in the video industry for nearly 20 years. I know the technology intimately. One of, my own Emmy. And we used to do something on the commercials. We interlaced, and when you're, for instance, shooting film, it's 24 frames, and then you convert over to video, which is 30 frames per second. Well, each frame has what you would call 2 frames to it. And for instance, when you're doing a film to tape transfer, you basically do what they call a 3-2 pull down. For every 3 frames, you drop it into 2. But anyway, you can put an image, a still image that is literally, it's a flicker. It's not even that. It's so quick. But we know people pick up on it. You've heard the stories of that, in beer commercials, they put, sexy women. That's not true. They do, and it's not ethical, but what is anymore? But we actually put in pictures of hamburgers. Why? The two go together. Anyway, that's a different time for a different thing. She says, I want to explore the concept of haunted media, namely television, and track how it has moved and continues to move from an analog to digital, just as television itself has gone and continues to go from linear to nonlinear. I'm not suggesting that nonlinear television is replacing linear television, because it is not the case. Nonlinear television exists alongside linear television. It just became one of the ways how to distribute and watch television. My aim is to demonstrate that the concept of haunted media reflects the changes in television technology, production, and distribution. She gets into the point of how that the deal with television, the new media, is as monstrous. It's a controlling mechanism. I want to get into some of this. I'm not going to read this. I thought this was interesting. The Ghost in the Machines. She says, before I start analyzing how haunted media is represented as monstrous in television horror, I need to consider what monstrous is. Might be helpful to define that. There are numerous ways monsters and monstrous can be defined. For Norrell Carroll, a monster is something that cannot be explained by current science, and it should be threatening and impure. Daniel J. Russell defines monster as fantastical and unreal, having a conflicted relationship with normality. I don't know what normality is. They say that normal is what everybody else is, and you're not. Anyway, however, haunted media are based in reality. There is nothing fantastical about the TV set or computer. And, you know, isn't it interesting, folks, that, you know, the flicker rate, all computers have the flicker rate. You don't see it. If you film your computer screen, you'll see. Yeah, there's so much that we think we know, but we don't know nothing. It is known to science. Carol mentions the objects, haunted houses, as being monstrous when they conflate the animated and the inanimate. Since haunted media appears to have a mind of their own, this condition is fulfilled. Carroll does not develop the idea further. He only mentions that it is problematic. Wow. I thought this was interesting. Analog television. The television is often depicted as a portal to another world and or a network that allows the supernatural to travel through it. What's being said here, and is what we saw on Poltergeist with Carol Ann, they're here. We just thought that, you know, gee, that was, you know, kind of funny. Steven Spielberg, you know, why would he intimate that every television is an actual two-way portal? Because it is. The interaction that you have with a television, if you stop and examine it, is freaky scary. And if humans really caught on to what was happening, we would all take our televisions out and throw them into the street and make sure that no one ever had the chance to turn another one on. It's too late. This is related to the fact that the television set is a common object, not only in our home, not to mention these days, it is often more than one set, as you can watch TV on the computer or the mobile phone, but also in public places, bars, doctor's office, even the streets, airports, airplanes. We all are surrounded by screens. On top of that, television sometimes blurs the lines between the real world and fictional worlds. Take any reality show, for instance. It is also the premise of films like The Truman Show, Pleasantville, where the main characters find themselves either unwittingly being a protagonist of reality show, or they are sucked into a Steigeric world of television shows. Vilifying television in the cinema is a strategy to demean the medium that started back in the 50s, when the film industry became threatened by the competition of television. At the same time, television became a phobic object, which was cinema's status before it. Since television was easily accessible and domestic, people were concerned about its influence on children. If we'd only listened to ourselves. That is why television has been heavily regulated since its inception. Its status as a phobic object still lingers and is supported by the representation of television as threatening, or at least dumbing or numbing. However, it is not only that cinema that sometimes literally demonizes television. Paradoxically, it is also the medium itself. Horror television shows sometimes depict television as a monster. For example, in the episode Smile Time from Angel, the puppets from a popular kid TV show compel children to touch the screen so they can absorb their life force. In the episode Wet Wired from the X-Files, the main character, FBI agents Mulder and Scully, are, as they often do, investigating a case in a small town where people are turning paranoid and violent. The source of this paranoia is later found to be the cable TV that was hacked using a device that emits a signal prompting the violent behavior. In Contact, the movie that Carl Sagan wrote, Jodie Foster, when she got the first signal from Vega, we realized that what we first thought was a radio signal was not. It was complex. It was layered. And the more you got into the layers, the more complex it became. Televangelists learned this power. People like Ernest Angley, others that I can think of. They knew the power of this. This is why they told you to touch your hand to the screen. They got it. You didn't. Freaky weird, isn't it? And yet we use the very same medium in order for us to communicate. I often wonder what's being laced with what we're talking about. It says, in the case of Smile Time and Wet Wired, show a televisual threat that is physical at both ends. So we never think about this. In fact, I wonder if we did this as a group experiment, everyone put their hand to their screen at the same time with intent of thought. Would we connect psychically? I almost say we will connect spiritually, because I've seen it happen. Marilyn Hickey. I mean, I can just go, on and on. Jimmy Swaggart, he was another one. They got it. They knew the medium. They knew it was a two-way portal. Says in the first case, it is a TV set and production, puppets, that has a monstrous quality to it. In the latter case, it is a device hooked up to a cable system. The forms of both threats is rather analog to digital, which reflects the era in which the shows were made. Although digitization of television was underway in 2004, it was not until 2009 that digital television officially replaced the analog. Furthermore, in the X-Files example, point of view shots show that the people influenced by the signals have impacted vision, and they see the world around them with lines and blurs as if they were watching it through the analog television screen, as the point of view shot indicated. Moreover, while the threat of these episodes is not focused on a single person, it is rather localized by the target audience in Smile Time and the place in Wet Wired. But television can address millions of people simultaneously, billions. So the threat can become much bigger, national or even global. There are cases of monstrous television where the true threat is not the television in the living room, but rather the invisible network that binds all televisions together on a national and global level, a theme that is more relevant today than ever. And folks, getting back to this, do you really think that if there is, in fact, an alien entity that controls this planet, maybe many of them, you think that they are not aware of this? You think that they are not, intimately aware of the fact that they've got nearly 8 billion people addicted to these damn black boxes. And I don't even know where mine is. I left it somewhere. And I did a show on that. It's amazing what happens when you activate these portals. Weird stuff. And I see I'm running out of time. This is just a great paper for you to read. It's one that's worth well the thought. There is another paper here we get into. 24, Time, Terror, and Television. In this great little white paper, it deals with the phenomenon that humans don't get any break anymore. We are immersed in an electronic soup, an electromagnetic soup that bombards us 24/7. There is no more rest time. There's no more downtime. And this is having a detrimental effect on all of humanity. And I look at this of what Lilith has told us. I mean, folks, this is some of the things that the Liber Lilith brings out over and over again. Lilith told us there's nothing in this realm that's not dominated by some spiritual entity of some nature, of some kind. But anyway, we'll get into this one most likely when I return. So, I mean, you know, some people can say, yes, I saw it earlier, so, but Wayne, look at all the good that the internet does. Does it really matter? Do you really still believe that there's this good and evil? I mean, the Romans drank wine in lead cups. You want to know why? Because it made the wine sweeter. Now, I'm not saying that we're drinking poison here, but I'm just saying. Hey, Al, thanks. Wayne's work. Robert Scott said that is why grounding is so helpful. It is, and we need to do it more and more. I was telling my wife, I just said, you know, hon, you know, we use this, but I said at the same time, I have to be a realist and realize it's still impacting me. It still has a control that it's amazing as you start finding this out. Bisbee says, I think the third, we are wearing pull-ups and Bisbee, I won't argue. Hello, San Diego Live 8. How are you doing? The Queen is finally, it kind of makes us almost back to the Wizard of Oz, huh? Hey, Rennie, how are you doing? Never a dull moment. Thank you, Wayne. It's a lovely group here. I love this group. And Rennie, they are. And thank you, dear. So some thought. And because of the sensitivity of the guidelines with YouTube, I mean, I did a much more in-depth one on the Steiger perspective on America worships Moloch, Baal. And when you study it, it's frightening. I mean, today we make what the children of Israel did look like. There's not even a comparison. I mean, it's beyond pale. And something's feeding on that. Something's been feeding on that for a long time. Wow. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Susie Q. Much thank you. I really appreciate that. They threw the ether in the net. Yeah, 72 human, 72nd human. Good to see you. I haven't seen you before, but Carol Torres, the lizard queen, straight to Hades. I don't know where she's going. Roger, thank you. What do you think the TV is affectionately known as the idiot box or the boob tube? Yeah, I mean, I remember that. I heard that quite a bit, and going through elementary school. We were actually, it was frowned upon to be watching television. It was considered to be a distractor. It was. I mean, I grew up on the B-rated horror movies, 1957, 58, 59, 60. I mean, that's it. And worst of all, I grew up with the Three Stooges until my grandmother banned my brother and I from watching it. And that was because he split my head open, but we would emulate the Three Stooges. Yeah. There's a testing television. Seriously. Musgrave, we're almost. We got our Yeti, and boy, that was we got this huge Yeti. It's called the Yeti 350. I mean, it will hold a 500-pound elk. It's that big, because you're moving food from one place to the other. But what an adventure that was. I just want to say thank you, Yeti, for all of your help. And folks, the supply chain really is strained. I can just tell you. And want to give a shout out to the good folks over at Estes. Thank you for delivering the product. Appreciate it. All right. Yes, Eric, I am leaving Colorado. Yes, getting out while we can. Changing the city life for the country life. There we go. I mean, looking forward to it. Land, folks, land that you can put in, and you don't have anyone telling you that, hey, you can't walk there, or hey, you have to mow your yard every, week, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that's all I got to say. John Paul Telly says television programming people to behave a certain. Yes, I am convinced that's true, and I think they transferred it over to those little black boxes that everybody walks around with now. Okay, folks, I do adore all of you. You all are precious. It's a treasure, and I don't take it lightly that you tune in and share your energy. And if we can keep those other damn things off of us, Perry, I think that's what's with you, brother. I think that I know you're listening, but I'm telling you, I think something's attached to you, my friend. Love you too, Susie Q, you beautiful woman. All of y'all are beautiful. All of you. I mean, look at me. Yeah. Someone say, well, aren't you the egotist? No, I just love myself. Give myself a big hug. All right. Y'all ought to give yourself a big hug. Robert Scott, thank you. Yeah, let me tell you about moving. It's sometimes healthy. It really is. And it's amazing how much we resist that change. Oh, we'll give lip service, our own mental assent to it. But yeah. Perry says, Al says, Perry is sleeping. Well, good. Ruby, good to see you, my dear. Haven't seen you in a while. Bebop, how are you? Trina, good to see you. So many fine people in here. I'm going to miss y'all next week. But we'll be meeting up the 19th. How's that? And got guests coming on, and I'm looking forward to this. I think this will be a new opportunity for all of us. So thank you, Lion Zion. I like that. Handle. That's cool. Lady Ellie, good to see you. And Tamara, hello. How are you as well? So many beautiful people I haven't seen in a while. Wow. Lori, much love to you, darling. And favor, bunches of it. Okay, folks, I'm going to go put on my work clothes and I'm going to go and continue. I know I have a new appreciation for cardboard boxes. Yes. The invention of the cardboard box, that could be a subject that we could talk about as well, over some coffee and some tea and some cakes, and I'm making the cake, so everyone's invited. Well, let me rephrase that. I don't know how many that would be. Well, thank you. That's great. Appreciate it. We've learned to smile. It helps with the stress, because moving is stressful. It just is, got boxes. I got lots of boxes. Thank you, Robert Scott. Appreciate it. I'll let Lynn know as well. And thank you for the safe travels. We're doing it ourselves. We're doing a caravan, and, I'm going to have Van Morrison going in. I mean, yeah, that's an adventure. Gotta love it. All right. Much love, everybody. We'll see you in about 12 days. All right.